Welcome to another episode of Brighthead Publishing Patio Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. I am so excited to bring you another wonderful poet. Oh, I love when poets come through because they're just, I love it. I'm bringing you another wonderful poet from New York, now in Atlanta, Kendall Barksdale. Kendall uses her poetry to spread messages of love, peace, positivity, and perseverance to the world with the intention of encouraging others to convert their pain into strength and beauty. Her perspectives have been shaped by her experience in both the inner city and halls of academia, earning a bachelor's degree of English from Clark Atlanta University and a master's of education from Fordham University. That's cool. Congratulations on the master's. I'm going to throw that out there. That's an accomplishment.
Thank you so much. I'm working on my second master's right now.
Oh, so thank you. I heard that. Her childhood dreams of creating a better future motivated her to teach. Poetry has been a constant companion, realizing that there are many people who have felt silenced by trauma, anger, personal doubts, and fear of not being heard or understood. And she has decided to share her thoughts in hopes of giving others a voice. In her debut book of poetry, The Black Phoenix, Kendall shares her journey from loss and sadness to strength and endless self-love with hopes of helping others to heal. The Black Phoenix is a reminder that no matter how much one has been broken, they still have the power to overcome and rise again. I am so excited. I am honored to bring you guys Kendall Barksdale. Kendall, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. Thank you.
So very welcome. So first of all, let me just tell you, the cover of your book is absolutely beautiful. I love it. That's the first thing that caught my eye. It's a beautiful book. It's available on Amazon. It's a beautiful book. And I can't wait to hear some of the work that's in it. So what I thought we would do is a little question answer, kind of get the listeners kind of know who you are, and then you can go right into reading your poetry. Okay, sound good?
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, great. So first of all, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, tell me about yourself. Tell the listeners about Kendall and how your journey, to this book and how you did it.
Well, my name is Kendall Barksdale, and thank you so much, Kelly, for having me. I've always wanted to publish my own poetry book. I started writing at the age of 9, and I would just, write poems, just to write them, whatever I was feeling. I would just write it down, whether it be on a napkin, a piece of towel, not a piece of towel, piece of paper towel, any writing surface that I had, I would just write. And I used to write poems for our dinner prayers. We used to have dinner with my family every night, and I would just write poems for prayers. And I just really got into the habit of reciting my poems that way. I would also write poems and hang them on my door. When I was living with my grandmother, I would hang my poems on my door and label them "You Can Read" for my brothers and my grandmother, who lived in the house, who, always encouraged me to write poems and just express my feelings. So, so I started writing poetry at the age of 9, and,
that's really cool. So you mean to tell me that when you were a child, you would write poems and post them on your bedroom door for your family to read?
Yes, we had wooden doors, and I would take thumbtacks and rip my poems out of my journals and just stick them on my door for my family to read. And it would just be some, at the time I thought that I was really writing something. So I really enjoyed rhyming words, and, there were some were silly poems like cat, bat, those silly poems. But I just really wanted my family to know what was, going on with me. I didn't really, I don't really like feel comfortable talking about my feelings, especially at that age. So that's how I express myself.
You would write them.
I would write them. Yes, I would write them. And I would keep journals. Just every Christmas, I would get a journal. I would keep composition notebooks as journals, and I would just write my poetry in the journals. And one Christmas, this was my first time that I ever wanted to publish a book. I knew that I wanted to publish a book, and I swore that my first book would be called The Diary of Confusion and Curiosity. And that would just be, at that time, it was supposed to be a book about, my journey as a child and what I was curious about, the anger that I felt about what was happening in the world. And I swore that was going to be my first published poetry book. And one Christmas, my grandmother asked me to get a collection of poems. So I collected 6 of my best poems, and she helped me pick out my best poems. And we went to Kinko's, and she copied my poems into a book. So we used fine glossy paper, and I remember her setting me up in front of a lamp and us taking a picture, because at that time we didn't really have, cameras with flashes. So we took a picture at the lamp, and that was my cover to my first poetry book, and it was called the Diary of Confusion and Curiosity. So she went to Kinko's, and she put it together, and we spent the Christmas just folding the book and stapling them. And then when our families came over, we sold the book for 50 cents each and gave the purchasers, or whoever bought the book, we gave them the book and then candy and a cookie.
Look at you and your grandmother self-publishing and distributing, right, already, and putting it together. So you're formatting. That is cool. That is a cool story. And you should really publish that. You still have that book?
I still have the book. I still have the book. I have chapters. So I took a bunch of loose leaf paper, and I wrote all of my poems from my journals into a book, and I divided them into chapters. So I have a binder, and then I have the dividers, and then a loose leaf paper. And then each chapter is a book. And like I said, I swore that was going to be my first book. But the more I read or reread the poems that were in that book, I just thought that they weren't good enough for me.
No, you see, that's not true. And we won't know if they weren't good enough if you don't ever publish them. So you can't say that. We don't say that on this show. You never say they're not good enough. Whatever you write is good. And it took me a long time to come to that. So that's my message. If you wrote it and it came from your heart, then it's good, regardless of what anybody else thinks. So just never say it's not good. Never want to hear that again.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're welcome. So give me one misconception you had before you became a published author. So I'm pretty sure when you went to go publish this book, did you know what you needed to do to self-publish, or did you kind of figure it out as you went along?
I didn't really know what to do, and that's what took me a very long time to publish my book, because I always had this imagination that I was going to publish a book one day, and it was always in my mind, but I didn't know the steps to publish a book. I thought it was just easy. Reach out to a publisher and bam, that's it. So the first step that I really took was collecting all of my poetry. And then the second step that I took was, this was before I even started self-publishing. My grandmother used to get white pages and yellow pages. So I looked in the white pages for publishers, and I started calling publishers, and then I started feeling a little insecure and not hopeful about the process, because I wasn't sure if that was the right way to go. And then my grandmother told me, well, before you even, start publishing your work, you have to copyright it. And I was like, copyright? I was like, how do you go about copywriting it? And my grandmother said that I could start emailing. I could do it two ways. I could put it in the mail and then mail it to our house, or I could start emailing them to myself. And so at that time, I think I was about 12 years old. I just got my email, signed up with Yahoo, and then I started typing my poems inside of Yahoo. I started emailing to myself, and I said that I still wasn't on, I didn't feel like I was on the journey to publishing. So I started writing some more. Some years passed by, and then in 2017, I had a really tough experience. So I taught in New York. I used to teach in the Bronx, and I used to read my poems to my students and write poems for my students, and So in 2017, something like very traumatic happened to me. So I had been teaching for 3 years, and I ended up losing that job. And like with me, whatever I do, I put my 1,000% into it. And when I had to leave that job, it was just a bad time for me. I had to give up my apartment, which I worked really hard for. It was my second apartment on my own, and I had to quickly pack up and move to Georgia within 3 months. And once I got to Georgia, that's when I started really writing about my experience. I went through depression. I would barely talk to anyone. I didn't have any friends. I had to learn how to drive. So throughout that depression, I started researching how to self-publish a book. And at the time, my friend Phoenicia Howard, she was in the process of publishing her book. And I was really inspired by her. So I would ask her questions, and I know she was annoyed by me, but I just needed to know. I said, Phoenicia, like, how did you do it? How did you publish a book? Like, I just needed to know. So I kept on asking her questions, and she said, first, you need to copyright, which my grandmother had been telling me. I said, how do you copyright? So you go to the website, do this, bam, boom. And then okay, I copyrighted my poems, collected all of them, and then I copyrighted them. And I said, okay, so what now? Like, what do I need to do next? And she said, well, you have to wait for your certificate in the mail. And then once you get your certificate, then you're officially copyrighted. And during this time, like, I just kept on writing, and I kept on writing, and I kept on like putting it off. Like, I knew this book was coming about, but I was just so scared to go ahead and put it out there, because this book was a testament to my journey, and I felt like I had to go through all stages of this journey that I was doing, and I couldn't publish until I was finished all stages. So the titles, the different chapters of my book are Through the Fire, and that's the first chapter. And Through the Fire, it just basically, it was an expression of how I was feeling when I had to leave my job. And I was angry, very angry, and that's all I had for me. Like, I thought that teaching was that was my calling, and I was reciting my poetry through teaching, and I just felt angry about the whole process. And then my second chapter was Extinguish being like I'm done, I'm burnt out, I can't do it anymore. Like I had pushed so hard to make a change in that school, and no one there appreciated me. Not the principals, the assistant principals, the teachers, no one there appreciated me. So I felt like I was going through it by myself. So I got burnt out. And then Rekindled is the chapter where I was depressed about losing my job and not being able to teach. And Rekindled, I was just getting my fire back. I was getting my light back, and I had to I was writing every day. I was praying. I was trying to just, busy myself so that I can, just get back right mentally, emotionally. And so I had to rekindle myself before I started really like going through the self-publishing process. And then finally, Resurrected was basically the chapter in which I was beginning to come out of my shell, like really have a breakthrough with my depression and everything that I was experiencing, and I was ready. I was beginning to become ready to publish my book. And then finally, Nimbus is basically me finding myself again, me recreating my light, me accepting the new me, and me being ready to publish my book and then just speak my truth. So in short, to answer your question, I first copyrighted my book, and then I got my copyright in the mail. And after that, I pledged to myself that I would release my book on my birthday, which is January 1st. My book didn't come out until January 3rd, though. So after I got my certificate in the mail, then I signed up for KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and I started uploading my manuscript, and I started self-publishing on the site. And I would go back to Phoenicia with my many questions about, hey, am I doing this right? I signed up for this, but am I doing this right? And I just needed, I needed assurance along the way. And Phoenicia gave me that assurance. And with that assurance, like, she kept asking me, so when's your book coming out? When's your book coming out? And that like really put pressure on me. I was like, you know what? You're right. Because I'm up here procrastinating. Because I'm scared that everybody will find out my truth. But you're right. I'm gonna publish my book. So you
published your book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come across writers, a lot of people who write, especially poetry, I have found that it saves them. You write through your pain. It is a coping mechanism to get through whatever. And I have said this before. I started off writing poetry as well, but then I found myself only writing poetry when I was in pain. When I'm happy, I don't usually write poetry. When I'm happy, I want to write stories because I'm a fiction writer. So I like storytelling. Poetry is my coping, and that's just the poetry that I write is for my eyes only. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready to share that because it's me having a moment, and you may not understand, but I understand what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's not about me. So if somebody came to you and said, okay, you have a book out there, what I want to publish a book. What piece of advice can you give me? What have you learned from going through that entire process? How can you help another aspiring author?
I would help another inspiring author by telling them whatever they're writing, someone else needs to hear it. Many times we feel like, especially poets, no one understands, or we may be critiqued by the world, or, our truth is being released, or we're exposed after we publish. But I would say that whatever someone is working on, it needs to be heard. Someone will benefit from it. You could potentially change or save a life with the writing that, you do. The second thing that I would tell an aspiring author is that you have to protect your work. So definitely, like my grandmother told me, copyright your work. And right now, especially with, social media and online platforms, it's so easy for our work to get out there. And, it's accessible to any and everyone who wants to access it. So you just have to protect your work and make sure that it's copyright so that what's yours stays yours. And some other things I would tell an inspiring poet or writer or author is to take your time with your writing. There's no rush. There's no rush at all. Whatever process or journey that you're going through, just fill it out completely and let it manifest through you, rather than you trying to force it out and you trying to rush the process. And I say that, yeah.
That's good advice. That's powerful advice. And I like it. So you're going to be reading today from your book, Black Phoenix. The book is available on Amazon. We'll be sure to share all the links in the description of the podcast so people can go and definitely get a copy. I'm actually just going to be silent and be quiet and let you just go ahead and read poems out of your book. I'm really excited to listen.
Thank you. So the Black Phoenix is my first book of poetry, my first published book of poetry, and I started it in 2017. I published it early this year in January, around the time of my birthday in 2020, and it is just my testament of the journey that I was going through from 2017 up until 2020 with, depression and having to build myself out of that hole that I was in. And the reason why I named my book The Black Phoenix is because I truly believe that everyone has the potential to recreate themselves at any time in any place. It is the human experience that we go through tough times, we go through depression, we hit rock bottom, but it is all up to us on whether or not we come out of that. So the Black Phoenix is really meant for readers to help them understand that, you're not alone when you are going through something difficult. Anytime that you need to just cry, scream, have a listening ear, but at the same time, ways to just rebuild ourselves when we do hit rock bottom. So the Black Phoenix is comprised of 5 chapters. Through the fire, extinguished, rekindled, resurrected, and nimbus. And each of these chapters tell a story from beginning to end in terms of me going through rock bottom, like literally having $3,000 in my bank account and having to pack up, leave New York and go to Georgia without having a backup plan, without thinking it through, and just solely doing things based off of survival mode. So I'm going to read Fired. This is the first poem in the first chapter. Fired. Ignited into a rage within spaces spent 8 hours a day for minimum wage, respect, and acknowledgement. Time and energy spent falsely smiling to make amends with managers who treat favorites like friends and effective employees as enemies. Passionate about the mission, hopeful for the transition to positive change for the world, women, men, and children, but sitting in a position forever fighting for overdue recognition. Investing love while others emit dismissive shrugs. Yet your hard work is never enough. Resentment towards the system of the cycle given to do your best for a proportionate check. Stay at your 9 to 5 to be exploited yet employed while your dreams slowly die, knowing that you will eventually be fired, professionally or spiritually. Or use the fire in your heart to create a new start. Take a break and focus on the living part. How will you walk through the fire without burning out eternally? And that poem is just basically saying that no matter what job you work at, whether you're employed or unemployed, you're always going to experience something that will burn you out, but it all depends on how you react to it. Death flames. When bruised hearts speak to deaf ears, the only remedy of ignored and misunderstood words is the silent scribble of a pen across a blank page. Desperate attempts of challenging a rage that is constantly untamed. When is enough really enough? And when that fire is finally done burning, will there be enough time left to rekindle that flame? Death Flames is about not being or not feeling that you're not understood by anyone and reaching rock bottom and you just don't know what to do, but you know you still have a little bit fight left in you and you don't know how to go about winning that fight. Second chapter of the Black Phoenix is Extinguished. And with extinguished, like any other fire, it gets burnt out. And that could mean you're burnt out physically from your job, you're burnt out emotionally, spiritually. There's a time in our lives where we just get tired and we feel like giving up, but we can't. Extinguished. She says she doesn't play with fire. She either ignites it or extinguishes it, but still ends up burnt either way. My fault is in forever. My fault is in forever. Continuously thinking that everything is permanent instead of preparing a plan B. Change troubles me, so I commit to a routine that will forever never be. Dismissing and denying temporary, no matter how obscene. My fault isn't forever, a mistake for future nevers. My fault isn't forever is basically a poem about you going so hard for something and you're not realizing how much time, energy, and space you're investing in that something. So you lose focus of everything around you and you think that whatever you're doing at that time is going to last forever. So you lose sight of everything else. And that my fault isn't forever was me thinking that, I would be teaching forever. I would be teaching at that same school forever. And, just growing complacent and investing all of my time and energy into one thing. Writer's block. I feel paralyzed in my mind, a type of standstill undefined. My tongue captured by life, my pen defeated by this fight. My brain is a melting candle, dripping hot wax and stiffening my pages like stone tablets. My brain's pulse is flatlined, eternal entombment in my mind. Life and family dropping letters and words of encouragement in my tomb for my resurrection. But I can't formulate these sentences. It's just not destined. My thoughts suffer from the mental capacity of adolescence. Adult presence presented by fathomed, paddled remnants in the stillborn waves of my memory bank, unable to express forgotten words, remembered by the tip of my tongue through the spill of my pen, misplaced locations of ideas that inspire my left hand to be my pen's personal lock. I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost on writer's block. Writer's block is a play on words that was just expressing how, no matter how bad I wanted to write, I just didn't have any ideas. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to write. And I was just stuck. You were supposed to cry. You were supposed to cry. How dare you not let that liquid full of pain fall down your face, cleanse your soul, and wash that hurt away. I guess you'll just wait for another moment to remind you that it is okay to be human. Sincerely, your trigger, an unwanted emotion. Many people think that it is a sign of weakness to cry, or they want to hold in all of their emotions. But one piece of advice that I would give to my readers and listeners is that it is okay to feel. It is okay to release. If you feel like you need to cry, if you feel like you need to scream, then do it. Because when you hold in all of your emotions, it just keeps building up. And no matter how deep you think you push those memories and those feelings down and away, they always seem to resurface. So it's better to just let it out when you need to, rather than store it and let it become worse. MIA. I had to leave so that I could love you from a distance. Listen, I figured the absence of my presence would hurt you less than my existing non-existence. Thinking my back would look better than looking into my eyes and seeing blank stares. I thought that not being there for you would be better than you speaking and not being heard. It sounds absurd, but when I hurt, my visions become a blur. I shut down and shut out the world. See, I deal with emotion second and run first. Retreat to a deep, dark place where alone time and a pen are my only friends. So when I disappear, just know that I'm going through some things. I work myself to numbness, grow in the dark like a fungus, and offer no explanation except for I've been grinding. Short for I've been crying internally, burning myself out externally to make negative emotions go away. But my mistake to this day is I go astray, alienate myself until I am okay. See, strong people almost break too. But sometime, real soon, we're going to push away people who intentionally once made room in their lives for us to bloom. So MIA is a poem about, you thinking no one understands you, so you just keep on pushing people away until, you really hurt them and they stay away. And there's nothing that you can do to get them back. So it is better to just be upfront with your feelings and communicate to your lovers or whoever you are dealing with people around you, how you're feeling, so that you don't push them away unintentionally because you don't know yet how to deal with your feelings. Rekindled. Rekindled is the chapter where I am processing my emotions. I am learning how to communicate, and I am accepting my feelings. Time change. How do you say hello to new beginnings without saying goodbye to old endings? Will Father Time wave farewell while the world stands still? Or must I travel in a circle to continue the cycle of conversion? What exactly will change when dollars crumble to pieces and I can no longer buy time? In between minute minutes of moments, will I be forgiven for my many mistakes? There are 12 major sections on a clock, but 24 hours in a day. By time, why have we been shortchanged? Recall 2. Your fragile hands cremate in my palms, disintegrating like your memory. Skin melted into flesh and bones, wrinkled by life's dysfunctional amenities. As your eyes scan my outer being, I just want you to remember me. Look past my flu phase of innocence. Acknowledge my new stage of feminine. Forever forget all of our bad. Because when you pass, I want you to tell the angel in heaven that I was the best daughter you ever had. Warm kisses brushed upon my cheeks brings back visions of my childhood, laughing and smiling at you. Those were the building blocks to my future, my personal plywood. I made an oath to make you proud. It hurts to see that your daily dose retains your memory now. Promise to reminisce of us in your dreams, and know that when we share special moments of interlocked fingers, it is our love that we are holding in between. You may not recollect my name at all, but do me one favor. Remember that you're my mother. Just recall. That was a poem dedicated to my aunt who passed away of Alzheimer's. My cousin and my aunt really had a hard time with my aunt's death, so I needed to write for them in her memory. And many times as writers, we have the responsibility of using our voice to communicate other people's voices. Hope floats. I waited, refrained from any physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental encounter in hopes of being with you. But hope floats into nooks of never when time or people don't manifest it. So hope floats is about taking full advantage of the people who are in your life and the time that you have with them. I'm going to jump to the third chapter of the Black Phoenix, which is Resurrected. Resurrected is the chapter in which I am recreating myself, and I'm finally pulling myself out of the flames and creating a new me. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the phoenix is a bird who rises again from its ashes. Resurrected. She put up with put downs and annihilations by allies, enemies, and termination. As the sun, she burns back, daring for any retaliation. So this was the time in my journey where I finally got my light back. And instead of being angry and, wanting revenge, I use my light to just move on and try to create something more positive and to find my peace again. Peace. Silence speaks. I listen obediently, allowing its serenity to guide my heart. Deaf to the world screams, my inner voice whispers with the request of silence, conversations, pleading for peace. So no matter where you go, no matter who you're with, it's very important to find your inner peace. The world is chaotic and it will always be chaotic. So we can't always depend on the outer being to give us peace. We have to find our inner peace for ourselves. Daylight savings. Time escapes her. She falls in the depth of the night and rises again in the morning. Tick-tock, rewind the clocks. Despite dark times, she shines an hour more than the sacrificial suffering she endured when death of the day before was knocking at her door. Saved by the sun, welcoming a new day, forgetting former failures. Daylight, you have saved me once again. Daylight savings is just a reminder that every day is a new beginning. Message from Mother Goose. A beautiful geese, walked up to me, asked me to join it in the water. I kindly declined, but gratefully appreciated the offer of it wanting me to be free, just like it is. So in the moments of us finding peace, we have to listen to what the universe is really telling us. Animals speak to us. The wind speaks to us. Trees, everything around us has a message, but we just have to pay very close attention to it in order to receive it. Fisherman. His mind was bait, fishing for the truth. He threw a string of condiments from his stream of consciousness, seeping into deep, raging waters, willing to acknowledge and share knowledge with sons and daughters. Like the sun, he shone through the shades of weeping willow trees, showing me the light of a path that I once knew. The Messiah of Central Park, I found you, fishing endlessly for the truth. He questioned questions that arose between the lines of unknown words from a stranger's notebook. Inquired what froze the brain of unsustainable thoughts. He asked and sought new lessons from a lonely ocean in a park, requesting to be a part of a new quest. Fisherman, fisherman, fishing for the truth in the deep blue. So one day I was in Central Park and I was writing, and I saw this man who was fishing, and he came up to me and he was asking what I was writing about. And I thought it was kind of awkward, especially for someone from New York to just come up to you and start talking to you. And he was very inquisitive about what I was writing. He was genuinely curious. And I told him, we had a brief conversation, and then he went back to fishing. And that little conversation inspired me to write that poem. And that just shows that wherever you are, you can find a little bit of inspiration. And it's not always negative to talk to people, because he could have been fishing for some truth or some inspiration just like I was. Soaring Sorrows. I found you with broken wings, crawling on concrete, wanting you to fly. I stretched out my hand, asking you to retrieve it. You wandered around me, slowly dancing with the idea of a new beginning. Time passed when you finally latched on. I put my foot down, detaching you from me, afraid that you might bite, hurt me if I ever loved you. You slowly strolled away, singing the saddest song of all your days, not even saying goodbye. All you ever wanted from me was to help you fly again. Soaring Sorrows is a metaphor for me always wanting to heal whoever my love interests are, and me being scared of committing to a relationship in fear that I would fail the other person or be hurt by the other person. And what actually happened was that I was in a park and I saw a butterfly, and a butterfly attached to my leg, and it wasn't able to fly, but I was scared that the butterfly might bite me. So I tried to stay still, but then I moved my foot, and then the butterfly started to walk again. And in the process of walking, then it began to slowly fly. So as I stated before, nature always speaks to us. We just have to be willing and open to listen to it. I am enough. They never had to say goodbye. Their back said enough. And in this unconventional departure of closure, all that is left is what I had before we met. Me, myself, and I. The triplets of alone time and the death of company. Divine, with a little piece of pain from a specimen who took my love in vain and made me realize that I am enough. My healing process, I started to look inward and really love myself for who I am, and that was just enough for me, and I realized that should be enough for other people as well. I'm going to read one more poem, one simple short poem that is dedicated to all of my readers. It's entitled Smile. Smile, and your soul will too. So just simply smile and your soul will too. No matter how bad of a day you think you're having, whether you have 5 minutes of a very frustrating experience, you still have 12 hours left in your day. So no matter what you're going through, just try to smile through it, even if it's for 30 seconds. And I promise it'll make you feel better. If not permanently, just temporary for that moment. And you never know what a smile can do for other people.
That is very true. That is so very true. And it's something that's so small, right? And I try to remember to smile at people. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'm guilty. I just don't think about it. Mm-hmm. I'm too wrapped up in whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm going through. So it's a really nice reminder. Mm-hmm. So Kendall, I really like this book. I really like the way that you basically wrote through your pain and you put it in stages. And I think that a lot of us don't give ourselves the opportunity to go through the stages of whatever we're going through. Mm-hmm. Right? And there are stages. And another thing when I was listening to you read is everything that you were writing, I'm sure others have gone through it. Mm-hmm. I know that I have. And that it's a reminder how similar we all really are, mm-hmm. even though we're all still very different. So poetry has a way of bringing people together. So I really appreciate you coming here today and sharing your work, because it's absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Do you have any other books coming up now? It's been a year since this one's been out there. So what's new on the horizon?
So right now I am currently working on a second book, and just like this first book, I'm not rushing the process. I'm feeling through the emotions. I'm trying to speak for others and for myself. But the second book should be out by the end of next year.
Nice. Well, like you said, you can't rush the process, and ultimately you have to be mm-hmm. happy with the book. Is it another book of poetry?
It is another book of poetry. Yes, and this one will be more geared to the stages of love and relationships, and it's just a universal language of love, and I just want to share that with with my readers and my supporters.
Well, I am excited. We'll definitely have to have you come back.
Thank you. I love that.
And share works from that book. And then, of course, if you ever want to come back and read poems from the Black Phoenix, this door is always open to you. You are always a welcome guest on the podcast. I enjoyed having you. Let the listeners know where they can get your book.
Thank you. So The Black Phoenix is available in print and through the Kindle version on Amazon. You can type in The Black Phoenix and my name, Kendall Barksdale, and it'll pop up. I'm also working on a website that will be readily available on my Instagram page. My Instagram is Smiling Soul. It's SMILINSOL_.
And we will have all of those links available so that you can connect with Kendall. Be sure to go to Amazon and pick up her book. You will be incredibly happy with it. I thought it was a wonderful book. Thank you so much for listening to Brighthead Publishing Patio Book Club. As always, until next time, keep writing.